Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Weird broadcast, coming at you live from Montreal, Quebec. Hope you're all doing all right. It's looking like a bright sunny day outside. Looking like it's gonna be a pretty lovely time. So I'm excited. I don't know about you. We got ourselves some news to cover. There's some memes to see, all that jazz. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a few days since I streamed. I got things fixed up on YouTube, even though I'm getting clapped. Apparently, I sent some misinformation, everybody. So I got to review one of my videos that got taken down. And I didn't get a copyright strike, but YouTube gave me a warning, basically being like, yo, what the fuck? So I got to like figure out what was misinformation. There might have been like a protest from years before. But I've been pretty cautious about being like, make your own. Everybody, this isn't the real. I'm not a journalist, so I'm a little annoyed that I got clapped. We'll check in on that and figure out what it's all about. We got some news lined up for the day, catching up on things that happened, things that are happening, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I hope you guys like the new emotes on the loading screen. Did a bit of programming the other night. Just gonna do some refreshing, get things going, and yeah, all right. We're bringing up the news. We're gonna kill the music and then blast off. Okay, so 2 million people have now fled Ukraine into neighboring countries, UN tells BBC. And there's like this 11-year-old who was traveling on his own. Yeah, so refugee crisis. And this will have updates throughout the day, so we'll probably circle back on that. Ukraine claimed on Tuesday to have shot down 3 Russian fighter jets and a cruise missile. The assertion was backed up by several loud explosions over Kyiv and is a sign that the country's air defense systems and air force are still working. So Kyiv has held. This was May 8th. This was this morning. This is interesting. We're going to cover it a bit later because it's not related to the current discussion. I don't know what to do with it. It's a bit outside of my understanding, but we'll come back to it. The whole world will be watching. Everyone who has given inhuman orders will be judged harshly. We've got
out to hear the latest
statements from Zelenskyy. So that might be a good way to sort of set the tone, see what what Zelensky has said. So let's
From
take a listen.
President Zelensky in Ukraine. So thank you very much for your time.
Who is not helping to break the siege. Hundreds of thousands of people are between life and death, literally, not as it is in the political commentators. We need anti-missile defense. It's life emergency. We hear a lot of words, a lot of agreements with regard to humanitarian corridors for our citizens in Mariupol. They didn't work. They still haven't worked.
It's honestly incredible that people are still trapped in Mariupol. Like, there's like a humanitarian convoy that's been trying to escape the city for like days now. I think it's like day 3 almost that they still haven't been able to get out. And allegedly, Russia has been mining. Actually, this is an allegation by the World Health Organization, I think, that they were putting landmines down on the path that the convoy would be taken. I'll see if I can pull that source up later.
So far, they have no more time to wait. In Mariupol, people have no time to wait. The invaders want our people to die. We send convoys with humanitarian help to Mariupol. We send the transport to rescue people. Everyone understands they are heroes, brave people. They understand that Russian army can simply shoot at them, shoot at the convoy en route, as they already killed people that tried to simply come onto the safe territory out of the hostilities area. But if you also shoot the humanitarian convoy and those people, you have to know the whole world will be watching. Everyone will be witnesses. Everyone will be given their witness statements. Everyone who is given and performing inhuman orders will be judged harshly.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he's really trying to paint this as like a light against the darkness, you know, very good and evil.
I've seen specific agreement with the Russian side to organize a corridor from Sumy for hundreds of our people and foreigners, citizens of India and China and students that were studying in Sumy. You know, we haven't said that the International Red Cross is prohibiting us to use the emblem on those cars that are performing the humanitarian missions. So the Red Cross is prohibiting us as if that is their control. It speaks loads that some people, very influential people, decided to put a cross on Ukraine. However, we will not let that happen.
I mean,
I will not.
He must know that NATO can't get involved, right?
Let that happen. Our friends, they are next to us. I will appeal directly to people of the world, leaders of the world. If they are not providing all the efforts to stop this war, this is genocide. We will keep talking to our partners, with the leaders, with the parliamentaries of all countries, who knows how to help Ukraine. We have a very intense negotiation day. I spoke to many leaders that are shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainians in this fight. We value your help. I spoke to President of the European Union, Charles Michel. I spoke to the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi. But there are some things which are
super surprising to see Modi take the side of Ukraine.
Decided not in negotiations, which do not directly depend on us, only on humanity that has to prevail in some capitals. It has to overcome fear. It has to prevail. And then we will see Ukrainian safe sky and Ukraine.
I can see like all the years he spent talking in front of a camera, like playing a character on what was it, Servant of the People, the comedy show, and I'm sure he had many other shows before that, helps him be so eloquent, so clear in his speech. He's really able to lean into like metaphors and all these like banal traditions that tie us together, you know, humanity and especially in a time of war. So like I really have, just like for his orator ability, you know, he's quite a good speaker.
Ukrainian towns unblocked.
You don't see him looking at like he's probably reading a prompt or something, but either way, like he doesn't like search for his words. His posture is always really concrete.
We can do that together as people around the world. And if the world will stand by, it will forever lose itself, because there are some values which are the same for all. Life, first of all, right to life for everyone. That is what we are fighting for in Ukraine, together with our army. This is what they want to deprive us of, those weak invaders. Exactly. We want to defend the whole of the world.
The whole of the world? Okay. So that was an interesting speech. The World Health Organization has verified 16 attacks on health services in Ukraine since the Russian invasion began, leading to 9 deaths and 16 injuries. Follow our updates. No, that's bad. What are you doing? What happened on day 12? Is this working? Yeah, okay. 1 million children have fled. We just read that. A dark historical first in less than 2 weeks. How is that a dark historical first? Haven't there been like so many refugees from Syria and Libya? Oh my God. Reporting from Hong Kong, the London Metals Exchange said it was halting the trading of nickel on Tuesday after unprecedented price increases driven by the evolving situation in Russia and Ukraine. As the U.S. considers imposing sanctions, some traders fear that nickel, a key component in batteries for electric vehicles and stainless steel, could be targeted as well, driving up the price by 75%. Oh my gosh, that's gains. Where are my crypto bros? Where are my stonk bros? Zelenskyy, while Russians are to blame for the killings, responsibility is shared by those who for 13 days in their Western offices haven't been able to approve an obviously necessary decision, who didn't save our cities from these bombs and missiles, although they can. Yeah, it's just such a strange, I mean, surely he knows, right?
You got to think about when they're used. They're used in war. It requires a truce for both sides to stop committing the strongest acts of aggression towards each other. In this war, in this invasion, they are almost impossible, because we've seen this is the 4th day where these humanitarian corridors have been attempted. Sumy, as you say, has gone through more heavy shelling. 10 people were killed yesterday. Authorities say many of them were children. We're seeing residential areas there be turned to rubble. And as the UN keeps reiterating, it's a human right. It's fundamental for people to be allowed to escape the fighting in the direction that they choose. But every time these temporary ceasefires have been set up in this invasion, they're meant to last for a day. We've either had both sides accuse each other of starting the fighting again. Shells have once again rained down on the cities they're trying to escape. People have been caught in the crossfire, in mortar fire. There's been fighting breaking out along those planned routes and vehicles destroyed. So they're not materializing in the way that it would hope. And then yesterday you have Russia presenting itself as the liberator in this crisis, how it justifies this invasion, saying, look, we will set up our own routes. And then it transpired that those routes, many of them would take people out of Ukraine and into Belarus, Russia's ally, or Russia itself. And for Ukrainians, they've spent years either resisting the control of Moscow or trying to escape it of late, trying to escape the violence, trying to take their families to safety. So the idea of moving towards that enemy is one that people just can't swallow, to be honest with you.
Not good. BBC is like all over this, of course. Kuleba, quote, Russia holds 300,000 civilians hostage in Mariupol, preventing humanitarian evacuation despite agreements with ICRC mediation, end quote. Yeah, this is the corridor I was talking about today. There's also a really great, we'll cover this later when we need some memes, but people were going over Conservapedia, and it's just amazing. This is kind of hilariously meh. A bunch of people in the Guggenheim, which is a very famous art museum in New York. It's beautiful. It's like goes in this very like concentric circles. A bunch of people flew like planes. Yeah, this will fix things. This will fix things. I think we did it, boys. This is from Robert Evans. Russia just lost a major general outside of Kharkiv. The FSB officer who reported this had to do it on a phone with a local SIM card because the Russian secure comm system has completely broken down, apparently, to Christo Grotsev. This is not the worst part. In the phone call in which the FSB officer assigned to the 41st Army reports the death to his boss in Tula, he says they've lost all secure communications. Thus the phone call using a local SIM card, thus the intercept. Allegedly. Allegedly. I'm just going to say the word allegedly after every statement. UN's high... Doesn't matter if it comes from Reuters or if it comes from some guy on Twitter. Like, everything's allegedly. Making light out of the dark. Yeah, I really enjoy Lucid Fox, where he just keeps a consistent, sardonic tone. And... yeah, and just like absolutely rolls over all the dark. It just keeps it pumping, keeps it on a high note. It's a fun ride. The UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights says more than 300 people have died in airstrikes in northern Ethiopia since November with the human rights. This was something, yeah, I didn't get to. I'm putting this in the backlog. Where's my other Ethiopia thing? It's a bit more of a deep dive. I don't know what's going on in Ethiopia. Things have popped off. 300. That's crazy. In airstrikes? What's happening? What's happening? Oh my god. But we'll get to it. Right now we're focused on Ukraine, just like shooting missiles and stuff from rooftops. This was a really informative thread, and when I'm ready to do a lot of reading, we'll cover it. It was absolutely fascinating. Very good deep dive. Financial Post, Russia warns it could cut gas supplies via Nord Stream 1, which, of course, could spike gas prices, everybody. I hope you're ready to pay for gas. In connection with unfounded accusations against Russia regarding the energy crisis in Europe and the imposition of a ban on Nord Stream 2, we have every right to take a matching decision and impose an embargo on gas pumping through the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline, Novak said in a statement. But so far, we are not taking such a decision. And that was the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia. Not good, everyone. So a few Russian oligarchs are starting to speak out against the war. Vladimir Lysin, the chairman and main shareholder of the NLMK Group, one of Russia's largest steelmakers, has called for an end to the Russian war in Ukraine. Source from Reuters. He sent a letter to staff that has been posted on social networks. The billionaire says that the death of people in Ukraine is a tragedy that is hard to justify or explain. He urges a peaceful diplomatic resolution. In the letter, Lysin, together with the board of directors, expresses hope that the war would end soon. A spokesman for the company confirmed the authenticity of the letter. So that's interesting. They got us over a barrel, literally. Yeah, we'll check out the price of an oil barrel soon. See where it's at. Watch the meter go up for fun. So yeah, okay, this is the thing going on in Ethiopia. Let's take a quick look. UN human rights chief said on Monday the situation in northern Ethiopia had deteriorated since November. Oh God, that next sentence. Michelle Bachelet told the Geneva-based Human Rights Council her staff had recorded 304 deaths and injuries to 373 people in air attacks, quote, apparently carried out by the Ethiopian Air Force in Tigray and Afar regions. The government has regularly denied targeting civilians in the 16-month-old war, pitting Ethiopia's federal forces against rebellious forces of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. So it's a civil war. Yikes. I did not know there was a civil war going on in Ethiopia for 16 months? A year and a half? Yo. Man. Yo. What? Okay. Looks like I got some learning to do. Poland star Robert Lewandowski cuts his ties with Huawei amid reports the Chinese technology company is helping Russia. But this is Daily Mail, so let's just skip through that. We got ourselves a video that we can check out that might be informative. Ukrainian Navy. Russian vessel near Odessa retreated after being struck by Ukrainian gunfire. So allegedly, Ukrainian naval forces defending the Odessa region hit a Russian vessel in the Black Sea with gunfire. Ukraine's Navy said on Monday, quote, the enemy has retreated again. Cool. So war propaganda, I guess. 30 Russian helicopters destroyed in surprise attack, Ukraine claims. Ukraine claims to have destroyed 30 Russian helicopters in an attack on an airfield near Kherson, allegedly, quote, at night, Ukrainian soldiers shelled the Chornobyivka airfield near Kherson. The occupiers decided to partially deploy their fleet there. 30 enemy helicopters were destroyed, as well as manpower and equipment. Russia has not confirmed the attack or whether it lost helicopters or soldiers. The morning in Ukraine for Russian evil spirits does not start with coffee, the Marine Command Post said, according to a Google translation. Misinformation, everybody! Kherson, a key strategic point along the Black Sea, was captured by Russia last week, the first major Ukrainian city to fall. The port city of Mariupol is under siege by Russian forces as Moscow's troops fan out across the south of the country. Over the past day, 3 enemy convoys were destroyed, the statement said, with Ukrainian defenders seizing trophies. Yada, yada, yada. So, a war's going on, everybody. There's a war going on. Russia says it may cut gas supplies, so this is probably, the same quote from Novak, so we could skip that. Ukrainian physicists call for Russia's ouster from CERN. This is science.org. Long a bridge between Russia and the West. World's largest particle physics laboratory grapples with war in Ukraine. There's also been like similar struggles in the scientific community for, the International Space Station. So that's been quite the development, everybody. Oh yeah, reach my 5 limit. Jon Stewart has an AMA. How do you keep from getting emotionally overwhelmed with all of the depressing, complicated stuff you cover? Jon Stewart, if you are able to figure that out, please let me know. I will say there are certain gummies that help. John, you cover... Okay, we'll come back to this. Russia warns West of $300 per barrel oil. Cuts to EU gas supply. So there you go, Jeremiah. That's what we're looking towards. Could face oil prices of over $300 a barrel and the possible closures of the main Russia-Germany gas pipeline if governments follow through on threats to cut energy supplies from Russia, a senior minister said on Monday. Oil prices spiked to their highest levels since 2008 on Monday, after Blinken said Washington and European allies were considering banning Russian oil imports. Quote, it is absolutely clear that a rejection of Russian oil would lead to catastrophic consequences for the global market. Surge could be unpredictable. ex-Rand Paul aide
said he wanted McGahn to write a letter to the file.
This is interesting. A Rand Paul aide, someone who used to work for Rand Paul, was pardoned by Trump and is charged with funneling Russian money into the 2016 election. Faces between 5 and 20 years if convicted. Big
You
if true.
found, quote, the president said he wanted McGahn to write a letter to the file for our records, correct?
Correct.
And to be clear, the president is asking his White House counsel, Don McCann, to create a record that McCann believed to be untrue while you were in the midst of investigating the president for obstruction of justice, correct?
Generally correct.
And Mr. McCann was an important witness in that investigation, wasn't he?
I'd have to say yes.
Did the president tell Porter
Если вдруг вам попадется свободный или брошенный БТР, то сохраняй лайфхак, как его завести. Включаем массу, оба генератора. Теперь втыкаем обогатитель. Опа. Следующий у нас стартер. Все, завелся!
Slowly. Yeah. Russia-Ukraine evacuations from Sumy Irpin underway. Ukrainian officials say civilians are being evacuated from the besieged areas of Irpin near the capital, Kyiv, and northeastern Sumy. Russia has declared another ceasefire and says a string of humanitarian corridors have been opened. Moscow says evacuees will be allowed to travel to safer places in Ukraine after Kyiv rejected an earlier plan to funnel civilians to Russia and Belarus. UN refugee chief says the number of people fleeing Russia's offensive has reached 2 million. Moscow threatens to close a major gas pipeline to Germany as Western powers weigh a ban on Russian oil. Yikes. That's a yikes for me, dog. Oh, not good. Dozens of buses headed towards Mariupol amid third attempt, everybody, to evacuate civilians. How are they not letting them out? Al Jazeera's Charles Stratford, reporting from near the city of Zaporizhzhia in southeastern Ukraine, says there are, quote, dozens of buses, end quote, heading towards Mariupol as part of efforts to, quote, try and pull what could be hundreds of thousands of civilians out from there. They're being led by a police escort, and there is at least one truck in that convoy, which we understand is carrying humanitarian aid, Stratford said. Now we know that this is at least the third time that a corridor has tried to be established to try and get people out, not only of Mariupol, but other besieged cities in Ukraine, too. Mariupol has been heavily bombarded by Russian forces. The city has had no water, power, or heating supplies for days. I don't know, like, that's crazy. You, like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, everyone bands together, but there's just not going to be enough food or warmth, like, fuck, in winter? UN rights chief decries clampdown on anti-war protests in Russia. Michelle Bachelet. Oh, I think we read this, but here's the quote from the UN's human rights chief. Quote, I remain concerned about the use of repressive legislation that impedes the exercise of civil and political rights and criminalizing non-violent behavior. Yeah, I just got clapped on YouTube, and like the warning it said was like misinformation, showing protests from a period like showing a protest from years ago and representing it as something that was happening now. And I'm honestly so curious, like, what got flagged. I have no idea what I could have showed. And maybe it's a bunch of Russian trolls striking channels for showing the repression in Russia. Maybe that's what's going on, everybody. Humanitarian corridors, a confused picture. Al Jazeera. Quote, the Ukrainians say, oh wait, there's an actual video. Let's watch this.
A man walks carefully down a street, totally destroyed. Russian bombs have ripped through these buildings in central Kharkiv. The area is silent and brutally scarred. Shrapnel has ripped through cars. Masonry, thrown in the blasts, has crushed others. Flames still rise from buildings nearby. Bomb craters and twisted steel.
This street in central Kharkiv shows you just how devastating the effect of Russian bombing of this city has been. An entire street totally destroyed. Many of these buildings have people's homes in them. Private residences, flats, some of them still smoking. One of the main things that many people here tell you is that they can in no way understand how the leader of a country like Russia could do something like this to a city like Kharkiv.
Tesa is in shock. She walks around in a daze looking at the destroyed businesses and homes.
I cannot think straight. I can't find the words. It's barbaric, terrible. The world is shaking. I just don't understand.
Shrapnel has ripped through the golden spires of an Orthodox church. Every window is smashed. Underground
smashing
metro
churches,
stations is where many people
according to
hide.
Al Jazeera.
The young and old stand patiently in line for food served by volunteers. A bowl of soup, salad, and bread.
So that answers the food sector. Metros are shut
Ilona
down.
and her 12-year-old daughter Nastya show us the train carriage where they've sheltered since their home was destroyed.
Fuck. I haven't seen anything like this.
It started 12 days ago. Our house was destroyed. We don't know where to live anymore. I don't know where to go with my child. Honestly, help us. There are many here like us who have lost everything.
Their belongings are neatly arranged where they sleep. There are family pets here too.
I thought we would live peacefully in happiness, united, but I was wrong.
In another carriage, we find 19-year-old Violetta and her baby son, Bogdan. He was born in hospital 2 days after the Russian army invaded.
It's so difficult. Every day we wash him upstairs. I'm so worried about him getting cold.
Vladimir Putin told the world repeatedly Russia would never invade Ukraine. Kharkiv is a terrified testimony to his lie. Charles Strafford, Al Jazeera, Kharkiv.
Yeah, they have live coverage as well. We might want to check that out after. Yeeks. Yeesh. Ukrainian officials say civilians being evacuated from Sumy and Irpin. Ukrainian officials say they have begun evacuating civilians from the northeastern city of Sumy and from the town of Irpin. The evacuations began after Russian and Ukrainian officials agreed to establish, quote, humanitarian corridors to allow civilians out of some towns and cities besieged by Russian forces. Alexei Kuleba, the governor of the Kyiv region, said more than 150 people had been evacuated as of 9:30 a.m. Footage shared by the Ukrainian State Service of Special Communications and Information Protection also showed what it said was the first stage of evacuations. Here it is. Big red cross, white van, red and white, super clear. That seems sensitive. Well, hopefully they get through. Jeez. The New York Times is covering the Ukraine crisis on the Ukraine war on the daily, and they had some really interesting recordings that you should check out for sure. Russia opens the humanitarian, and that's why we're seeing people get through. UN warns the second wave will be more vulnerable. Here's that 11-year-old traveled alone from Ukraine to Slovakia to escape the war. Volunteers helped him. His mother sent him with just a plastic bag and passport and a phone number written on his hand.
Я дуже вдячна за те, що ви врятували життя моєї дитини. Бо поруч з моїм містом є атомна станція, яку російські окупанти обстрілюють, і вона горіла. І я не можу залишити свою маму, їй 84 роки, вона не може сама пересуватися. Я посадила сина на потяг, відправила його до кордону Словаччини.
He traveled 1,000 kilometers from Zaporizhzhia. On Friday, fighting erupted at the nuclear plant. Experts, say that could be disastrous. One of the largest possible nuclear crises. Yeah, I don't blame her for sending her kid. Just get out, just go. You'll be way more safe, with whomever, with your people. Crazy though. Polish border guard says over 1 million people have crossed from Ukraine. Russian aviation faces wipeout? Oh, I see. Russia's invasion has resulted in its airlines being banned from European, American, and Canadian airspace, leaving the country with leased aircraft it cannot use and scuttling aerospace industry partnerships with the West. Even flights to friendly countries like China are in doubt due to the international community's ostracization of the country's aviation sector, according to aviation analysts. Yeah, they're going to be shut out of Europe. It's going to be a disaster for their industry. Shell to stop buying Russian crude oil. Yeah, they said that once before. How'd that work out? Didn't they just go behind everybody's backs? Like, didn't they just do the thing? UK's Wallace. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace has used some harsh words to describe Putin. Quote, whatever happens, President Putin is a spent force in the world, and he is done. His army is done, and he needs to recognize that, he told Times Radio. Quote, the international community is united against him. He is in a position where he is going to cause huge economic hardship to his people. True. But from what I understand, the war is still popular in Russia. Like, that was my last war poll. Miami Herald. Oh, that's in US. I hate to use CNN. Yeah. But I think, I doubt CNN's going to have good polling in Russia. Where did they source? 1 out of yada, yada, yada. 1 in 2 Russians feel the use of force is justified to keep Ukraine from joining NATO. Source CNN Savanta. Okay, so they did run their own poll. Interesting. Who do they run it on, though? Most people in Ukraine, they ran it in the countries themselves? Most in U.S. This is Miami Herald. Sorry, that was an accident. Women of Ukraine address the invaders. We join the men and the Ukrainian army. We have already taken our children to safety. We will destroy the enemy on every inch of Ukrainian land.
Мы женщины Украины. Мы благословили наших мужчин на защиту нашей земли. Мы уже вывезли наших детей в безопасное место. Генофонд нашей нации защищен. Мы присоединяемся к мужчинам и украинской армии. Мы присоединяемся к мужчинам и украинской армии. Мы будем уничтожать врага на каждом сантиметре украинской земли. В каждом нашем городе, в каждом селе, в лесу и в поле. За каждого ребенка, женщину, старика, разрушенный дом, улицу, даже сарай. Мы будем вас отстреливать, как бешеных собак. Слава Украине! Смерть ворогам!
Russian embassy in Ireland complains its territory was violated. Embassy of the Russian Federation in Ireland on March 7th. Oh yeah, a large truck came over to the gates of the embassy, pulled back and torn down the gates of the embassy. The incident took place in the presence of Garda officers who stood idle. The embassy strongly condemns this criminal act of insanity directed against peaceful diplomatic mission. The embassy views this incident as a clear and blatant violation of the Article 22 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961. The embassy is in contact with the Foreign Affairs in Ireland, demanding that Irish authorities take comprehensive measures to ensure the safety of its staff and their family members. Incident is cause of extreme concern. We believe that no people of sound mind could support such senseless and barbaric actions. Yeah, I think I mean, they're not wrong. It's still an embassy. It's still an embassy. But Russian military communications intercepted after they destroyed the 4G towers needed for secure calls. They should be on that 5G, everybody. Yeah, they had to use a local SIM card, which is how we got that news. It's funny, though, that Raw Story can cite the same Crystal Grotsev that we came across earlier. Who's this guy? The executive director of investigative journalism and intelligence group Bellingcat. Oh my god. Yeah, of course this dude is reliable. What the fuck? Easy follow. Easy follow. According to Grotsev, Russian forces had no choice but to use the insecure line because ERA, the highly secure crypto phone system implemented last year by the Russian Ministry of Defense, which is supposedly guaranteed to work in all conditions, is down. And the reason the system is down is that Russian forces on the front line destroyed all of the nearby 3G and 4G cell towers required for the system to establish a function. Oopsie. Oopsie doopsie. Oopsie. Whoop. Absolutely falling in shambles. Absolute shambles. Russia warns of catastrophic fallout. Ukraine city struggling to feed people fleeing the war. Yeah. Germany to host G7 meeting. SD louder? What is that? Yeah, it's going to suspend. Second Russian general killed in the war. Major General Vitaly Gerasimov near Kharkiv. Oh my god. 11,000 Russian troops have been killed by Ukraine, allegedly, apparently. Okay. It's going to be an early to reestablish. Do you think Russia is using Ukraine as a gambit? Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a way to sort of like regain their former empire. It's like imperial ambition sort of thing. I don't know if we have to read too deep into it. It can very simply just be like Mad King popping off. It happens. These things happen. I don't know, but I could be wrong. It's gonna be a shorter stream today. I got a lot of stuff to do this morning. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. To cover the news, maybe play some Elden Ring, and yeah, it's been a super fun game. And I hope you all have a lovely day. It's looking like it's gonna be bright and beautiful here in Montreal. And yeah, thanks for checking out the stream, and give a like, follow, all those things that support, and have a good one. I'll see you later, everyone. Bye. Au revoir. À la prochaine. See you tomorrow, bright and early.